Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. I am your host, Nicole Crone, and I thought I would do a video episode for this week as well. So you might catch this over on YouTube, or you might be listening on Apple or Spotify or Google or any of those major streaming platforms that you're used to listening to our podcast on. Either way, the message is important, and it's going to be a really fun conversation today. And I thought, I've got my favorite red lipstick on, and these are things that I feel totally comfortable talking about on camera. Sometimes I'm like, I want to be able to pause and gather myself. And sometimes I do the podcast from bed. I take my microphone into bed, but here I am, I'm ready. So I thought, let's do video. It's the last Monday in November. We were in Arizona last week, and I'm saying that in future past tense because I'm recording this before we even go to Arizona, but you're hearing it and you're hearing this, and we have just gotten back from celebrating and sharing a whole bunch of fun news and exciting things with everybody. And we're wrapping up November. December, we like to offer a visioning night for our platinum clients. And then other than that, we really take time to be with our loved ones, to rest, to celebrate and enjoy the holidays. And then we hit the ground running in January. There will still be podcasts all throughout December. No worries there. We always show up and offer TGIM happening in the world. So what I thought would be really fun today is to do a little bit of frequently asked questions that I get personally. So maybe myself and Kayla get them, but I'm not going to come on here and answer what Kayla would say. So I thought I wrote down some of the things that we got asked in our free week. We did a workshop called Manifest Your Dream Business, and we did a VIP after hour session each day where people got to ask us whatever they wanted. It wasn't recorded, and we just got to share. And in that sharing, it opened up lots of conversation, and we were able to do masterminding and coaching and mentoring and all of that great stuff. So I wrote down a list of the questions that I thought were really fun and that I could answer on here and be able to get into a little bit of storytelling with. So one of the questions that I got asked in that week was, how do I personally define success? And we actually asked everybody to answer this on the day one of the Manifest Your Dream Business Workshop, because when we asked people, what would they like to have more of in their life? You might have heard this on a Biz Besties episode because Kayla and I covered it. The majority of what people said that day was more success, success in business, more money, and more money in their business. And I said, okay, that sounds really great, but can you get clearer? How do you know, or how will you know when you have achieved more success in your business? And so we want people to be able to define that. What does success mean to you? So that when it happens, when you experience it, you're like, wow, I manifested that. That is, I've been saying that I want more success in my business. This just happened, XYZ. And then you're able to piece it all together. So when I got asked that question of how do I define success, I can so remember this moment when it was 2018, and shortly after I had moved to Victoria. I moved here in the summer of 2017, and I was living in a house with 3 other roommates. And one of my roommates said to me, how do you what's success for you? And what I shared with her in 2018, she said to me in that moment in time, I love your definition of success. I want to make that my own. I'm like, go for it. But then she reminded me of it 3 years later. It was early days in the pandemic. And she said, I always loved your definition of success. And I was like, what is it? What did I tell you is my definition of success? And when she reminded me what I had told her, I'm like, oh, that's still true. That's still resonant for me of what is most important. So the way that I personally define success, again, this is for me. This is not, you don't have to take this on. It's how I know. It's a marker for me. My definition of success is that if you and I have an interaction, you, the viewer, you, the listener, you, the client, you, the follower on Instagram, you, the reader of content that I create, you, the person who I exchange a conversation with, if you leave an interaction that you've had with me, even if it's just listening to me in the podcast, even if it's just watching this YouTube channel, whatever it is, if you leave an interaction with me feeling better than when you've arrived, that is success for me. I've done my thing. So when I have something that is really clear like that, really tangible, then when somebody says to me, "Oh my gosh, I feel so much better after our call today, TGIM, and I feel so much better," I'm like, check, success, success, right? And I'm not like, success doesn't have to be something that's far fetching. It doesn't have to be something that you can't reach. And it doesn't have to be something that you only reach once and never reach again. So I think that that's the really important piece there about your definition of success is make it something that you can reach, make it something that feels good. Know that you can change your definition of success at any time because you're in complete control of your life, but have some clarity around what success means to you. Now, another question that I got asked in the Manifest Your Dream Business Workshop week in the after hours specifically was, how do I personally stop, like disrupt thoughts that aren't expansive in the moment? So, for example, we work with a lot of people who are launching their businesses, launching podcasts, putting their course out into the world, putting their memberships out there, starting their website, whatever it might be. And of course, they have the moments of like hype and excitement and all of that. And then they have the moments of doubt where self-sabotage creeps in, or perfectionism or comparison, these moments where it's like, oh, I don't know if I should keep going. So how do I personally stop myself in my tracks in those moments? And I shared that for me, it's a continuous practice. I'm not perfect. I do have a really strong mindset for sure because I work on my mindset every day, and I have for years, and I'm a mindset coach and a mindset mentor, and I love NLP. So this is part of my daily practice. So I feel a little bit stronger in it than maybe if you asked me 10 years ago, for sure. So I think the way that I approach stopping those harmful thoughts is with awareness. I think awareness is our superpower. I'm like crafting a whole talk around this, that I believe my awareness is my superpower, specifically my subconscious awareness. So when you can subconsciously know that there's a program or a dialogue or a pattern or something that is running the show for you, and it is preventing you from getting where you want to go and doing what you want to do, then having awareness around that, being able to stop that and bringing the subconscious to the conscious so that you can shift it, you can reframe it, you can affirm the opposite, you can coach yourself through it. That's what I do. So I am in a pretty constant state of awareness, of checking in. Are these thoughts creating good feelings? Are these thoughts conducive towards moving me towards what I want? Are these feelings high vibrational feelings? Do they carry a high frequency, a high vibration? Are they a match? Are they moving me towards my goals and my desires and my dreams? I'm in a and I'm a coach, so I'm also quite curious and ask a lot of questions to others, but to myself. My self-awareness is high. And so I would say, for those of you that are wondering, how do you stop harmful, destructive thoughts in the moment, doubting thoughts, sabotaging thoughts? I would say practice working on your self-awareness, on knowing if you feel good or if you don't feel good, if you're thinking harmful thoughts or not thinking harmful thoughts. And then also having the opposite truth available. So if you're telling yourself a story that about something that hasn't even happened yet, like the launch that's not going to work out, even though you haven't even launched yet, then create a story where the launch goes better than you can imagine. Have an alternate story. And then again, awareness. Oh, I'm telling myself a story and the story feels like shit. So I think I'll tell myself a better story. And then if you're telling yourself a story that the future is going to go like the past, well, then that's just you holding yourself back. If you're like, well, my last launch didn't go good, so I'm telling myself that my next launch is going to be like my last launch and it's not going to go good, then again, that's you. That's you creating that story, and you can be the disruptor of that. You can stop that. You can change that. Okay, so that covers that. Morning routine. I got asked, what is my morning routine? Mine has certainly shifted over the last 3 years. 4 years, when we started My Aligned Purpose, I was getting coaching on this because I was so rigid in my morning routine. I was really hard on myself that if I didn't cover meditation and yoga and journaling and reading self-development, if I didn't cover all of those things, then there was no point in doing any of them. And I would set an alarm and like get up at 5 a.m. to like start this like long, arduous practice of things that I thought had to be done to create the perfect morning routine. Now my morning routine looks like, again, incredible self-awareness. So what do I need and what do I desire? Some mornings I wake up and I go to a bar class. Some mornings I wake up and I pour a coffee and I sit down and read a book. Some mornings I wake up and I get my dogs in the car and hit a trail and go for a walk. Some mornings I wake up and I sit up in bed and do a meditation. Some mornings I wake up and I meditate and then I journal and then I go to the gym and then I walk the dogs. And some mornings I say, I slept in, and some of those practices are going to have to wait until later. I will fit them in my day. At one point, I will fit at least one of those practices in because I love myself and I care for myself and I know that I'm important and I have to take care of myself in order to show up and be the best version of me for my husband and for my dogs and for my friends and for our clients in this community. And so you don't deserve the shit version of me. And so I'm not going to give that to you. So I do prioritize myself. And I try to do it in the morning because I am a believer that how you start your day creates impact for how the rest of your day goes. And how we live our days is ultimately how we live our lives. When you look back on your life, it will be a culmination of all of your days added up together. So make sure that your days are, for you, that you feel good, that you're in service, that you're taking care of yourself, that you're loving people, you're telling people that you love them, and you're doing things that truly, genuinely fill your own cup. How do I raise my own vibe? That was a question I got asked. How do I raise my own vibe? With all of those things I just shared. I will journal things out and then I'll get into how good can it get practice. I will meditate and I will do affirmations and I'll work with bridge statements and I will get into a visual state. I will raise my vibe by getting out onto a trail with my dogs, which is like my best case scenario. It always makes me feel so good. I will raise my vibe by going to a bar class where they play like awesome music, raise my vibe by putting on music and just switching how I feel energetically. Sometimes I raise my vibe by getting in the shower and like cleansing off old stagnant energy. And again, I usually get in the shower with either a playlist on like house music. I've got a waterproof speaker that I keep in my shower and I just like go to town and have so much fun in the shower. So how I raise my vibe, again, it's about having self-awareness of my vibe doesn't feel too high right now. And so what could be something that I could do right now to raise my vibe? And raising my vibe is never dependent on anyone else. I don't depend on my husband to raise my vibe or my friends or my clients or Kayla or my family or anything like that. It is my job to raise my vibe. It is my internal state. Nobody can make you feel a certain way. So you can say like that person made me feel mad or that person made me feel happy. They didn't make you feel that way. You feel that way in their presence or with the conversation with them. So I don't like to put the responsibility of my feelings in anybody else's hands, whether it be good or bad or neutral. I take full responsibility. If I'm not feeling my highest vibrational self, I do something about that to change it. 2 more questions that I wrote down to cover today were, what's the best business advice that I ever received? And okay, this is good. I used to share that I asked a friend, a male colleague who I worked with a couple years ago, who has decades more experience with businesses than I do. And I said to him, what's the best marketing advice that you've ever heard that you could pass along to me? And he said, and this is like a man who owns multi-million dollars worth of business. And I was expecting like some real deep, elaborate thing, like get out my notepad and take some notes. And he said, fish where the fish are. And I thought, what the fuck? What do you mean? And he said, go hang out and tell your story and sell your products and market your business where people need it, where people want it. And this can be distilled down to be as simple as, if you keep trying to post on Instagram and your audience is on Facebook, you are not fishing where the fish are. And this happens to me every once in a while where I go and post something on LinkedIn to just be like, well, I've got a LinkedIn profile. Let's see what happens over there. And it's always crickets because that is me fishing where there are no fish in my pond. All the fish in my pond are over on Instagram. So I just need to stick to where they are. So that's one of the best pieces of advice that I was ever given when it comes to marketing. And then I would say another great piece of business advice that I was given, and this applies to business and life and any routine or habit or behavior or pattern that you want to pick up, and that is consistency. That is not stopping, even when it feels hard, even when it feels pointless, even when it feels like it looks like it's not working out. Be consistent. Consistency will always bring you results. You don't know when that tipping point will be, but if you really want something, be consistent with it. Keep going after it and don't give up. And that's why I have released a podcast episode, TGIM episode, every single Monday for almost 4 years. I have been incredibly consistent with this podcast because I know the power of consistency. You don't get to tens and thousands of followers and downloads and listens and conversions and sales and clients by not showing up. So I would say that that's my best business advice. And then the last question, books that I've loved. I could sit here all day. I could do a day long 24-hour podcast episode of books I've loved, but I'll try and distill it down to some of the top ones that come to mind for me. All going to be like self-development, personal. And I would say at the very top for me are, of course, Rich as Fuck by Amanda Frances, We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers, Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. I'm going to put those at the top of my list. Yeah, those are some of the best books that I have ever read that have had major impact on my life and in our business. What books that I would always refer out to other people. I think they're incredible. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it here for our last TGIM episode of November 2023. We've got 1 month left of 2024 together. If you missed out on any opportunity to join us in a 2024 program, such as Align Business School VIP Day, which is happening next weekend, December 2nd, Saturday, December 2nd. You're hearing this on Monday. So in 6 days, 5 days, whatever that math is, we are doing a live VIP day. You can come join us. You can pay a payment plan so you can get started with $297 and go on a 12-month payment plan. And that payment plan will get you access to the VIP day. And then, of course, into Align Business School plus Podcasting 101. Or you can pay in full and we'll give you a coupon code for $1,000 off, and you'll get to spend a whole VIP day with us mapping out your strategy for 2024. So if you missed out on the opportunity to come join us in that, this would be your last week as it's happening on Saturday. And then, of course, there is the opportunity to join us in Platinum for a January start. We would love to come have you. There are 52 modules of content. We meet weekly in masterminding, Q&As, vortexing, and we do mindset calls. I bring NLP to this mastermind every single month. We do quarterly accelerator calls where we map out your 90-day strategy. We do like 90-day sprints. And then, of course, it gives you an all-access pass to everything that we have ever created inside of My Aligned Purpose digitally, and a ticket to our retreat this upcoming spring. So those are the two main ways that you can work with us. I want to make sure that if you missed out on those, because we did some launches back in October and at the beginning of this month, but you could still squeeze yourself into that VIP day happening this weekend, and also Platinum for a January start. Okay. Have a great week, everyone. And thanks for being here. Send more questions my way if you want to hear more things that I'm into and how I get through things and my mindset around challenges. I'm always happy to share. Have a great day.